This is Unit 5, Lesson 2, Properties of Parallelograms. After watching Mr. Gilbertson's video and completing the bell work, here are the answers to your bell work. FG is congruent to IH. FG is congruent to IH is true because in a parallelogram, diagonals bisect each other. Question 2. FI, which is one diagonal, is congruent to HS. That is sometimes true, so we're going to put it as false because it's not true all of the time. There are some parallelograms, such as rectangles and squares, that always have congruent diagonals, but this, not every parallelogram. If we take a look at question 3, FS is parallel to HI. That is correct because that's one of the definitions or one of the properties of a parallelogram. FH is congruent to IS is also true because opposite sides are congruent. Question 5, angle FHI, that's this angle over here, left bottom corner, and HIS, that's this one over here, are congruent. We are going to say false. Now, first of all, even without learning the definitions, you can see that this blue angle is an acute angle, and then you can notice that this green angle is an obtuse angle. So they are not congruent. They are supplementary, similar to same side interior angles. In this lesson, we're going to practice properties of parallelograms. I'm going to go through some of the examples, and then once the video is finished, you're going to complete the rest of the questions. Now, the original assignment goes 1 through 50, but we are going to skip a couple of sections. So you will be assigned to do questions 1 through 10, and then 17 through 26, and then 33 through 44. Okay. For question 1, to find the measure of angle K. This is similar to something we learned in Unit 2. You can think of these as two parallel lines cut by a transversal. So if one angle is 115, the other angle is going to be supplementary, which is 180 minus 115, or 65. So the measure of angle K is 65 degrees. Question 2. Here we have to find the measure of opposite angles. One of the 5 definitions of parallelogram says that the opposite angles are congruent, which means that the measure of angle F is going to be 115 degrees. Now, typically I would assign questions for you to do at this time, but I'm not going to. I'm going to go on to question 5 and 6, and then you're going to work on the other questions once I'm finished. Here we have 2 opposite angles. As we mentioned before, opposite angles are congruent, which means we set them equal to each other. Subtract 5 from both sides, and 26x equals 130. Divide both sides by 26, and x equals 5. Question 6. In question 6, we have 2 consecutive angles, which add up to 180. 95 plus x plus 85 is equal to 180. 95 plus 85 is 180, plus x is 180. Subtracting 180 from both sides, x is going to be 0. Then you're going to do questions 7 through 10. And we are going to skip the section 11 through 16 because it's the one that has you plug it back in. Now, that is also very essential, and we're going to practice that a little bit during the review, but for right now, we're going to skip it. Question 17. Question 17 gives you one side and asks you for the length of the opposite side. One of the 5 definitions states that the opposite sides are congruent, which means that GD is equal to 16. Then you're going to do questions 17 through 20, or I should say 18 through 20. And here is question 21. Since I said that opposite sides are congruent, that means we're going to set them equal to each other. 8x minus 2 equals 7x plus 1. Subtract 7x from both sides. We have x minus 2 equals 1 plus 2 plus 2, and x is equal to 3. For student view, you would just write 3, not x equals 3. You would just write the number 3. I have one more to show you, 22, which also has opposite sides, and as I said, opposite sides are congruent. Opposite angles are congruent, opposite sides are congruent. 5x is equal to 20, and x equals 4. Right, you'll do questions 23, 24, 25, and 26. We're going to skip the section 27 through 32, and then we're going to start from 33. Question 33 talks about diagonals. Here we have QJ. QJ is 19, and then to find the length of JS, you would have to know the property of a parallelogram that states that diagonals bisect each other. Because diagonals bisect each other, JS is also going to be 19. Question 34, you have that UF, which is half of a diagonal, has a length of 8. To find FH means to find the entire length of the diagonal. Well, since half of it is 8, the other half is also going to be 8. And FH is going to be 8 plus 8, or 16. So the two diagonals, if you take a look at this one and this one, they're not congruent, but they do bisect each other. They cut each other in half. You are going to do questions 35 through 38. And I'm going to show you how to do question 39. SN. This is SM, and it has a length of 23. MQ, that's this over here, is x plus 12. As mentioned right before, diagonals bisect each other, which means that you're going to set these two segments equal to each other. X plus 12 is equal to 23. If I subtract 12 from both sides, x equals 11. JG has a length of 12. EG, which if you take a look, EG is the whole segment, or the entire diagonal, is 8x. So it wouldn't really make sense to set 8x equal to 12. But to make the two segments equal to each other, you can say that this is also 12, making the entire length of the segment EG equal to 12 plus 12, or 24. And now you can set 8x equal to 24. If you divide both sides by 8, x is equal to 3. Okay, please finish your assignment on paper first, and then put your answers in student view. Send me an email if you have any questions. I may be able to respond during the workshop or during lunch.